Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. Happy New Year! Oh yeah, woo, awesome, yeah, yo. You know, if Tarkir celebrated the New Year, I have a feeling their celebrations would involve a lot of fire and explosions. Kinda like fireworks, but much more deadly. Anyways, Fate Reforged spoilers continue on. We're going to start the day off with the ancient leader of the Abzan, Daghatar the Adamant. 3 colorless and 1 white for a 0/0 human warrior with vigilance. It enters the battlefield with 4+1/+1 counters on it. You can pay 1 colorless and 2 hybrid black or green mana to move a +1/+1 counter from target creature onto a second target creature. He's a 4 mana 4/4 with vigilance, already decent in my book. Beyond that, here's another Abzan commander for you. Players that love counters are going to be especially excited. Looking at you, Gav, Guru of Spores. There are some obvious synergies here. First, works really well with Outlast. For 3 mana, you can move a counter and trigger the Outlast benefit on your creatures. Next, he can take counters from your opponent's creatures. That's probably my favorite part of this card. It says any creature, not just ones you control. Now that's funny, especially in a format like Commander. I'm not sure this is impactful enough to see standard play, but honestly, it definitely isn't meant for that. Obviously a Commander card. Enjoy it, my friends. It's a fair card. It's a good card. I'm pleased. Next up might be the most broken piece of anything I've seen ever. Monastery Mentor is 2 colorless and 1 white for a 2/2 human monk with prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 white monk token with prowess onto the battlefield. But, I always wanted to know what would happen if you took Monastery Swiftspear and Young Pyromancer and made them have babies. Well, this is what you get. Monastery Mentor is disgusting. Creating the 1/1s on spellcast would have made it a decently good card. Basically a Young Pyromancer, but a little too expensive. But no, they had to give the tokens prowess too. Do you understand how outrageously out of hand this can get? We've learned that turn 3 isn't too late for a card like this. Ask Rabblemaster, he has a lot to say on the subject. Where can this fit? Any token deck ever, especially ones that love running spells like Hordling Outburst. There's also a ton of talk about this being a new addition to Jeskai Ascendancy and Standard. Now, I don't want to get too ahead of myself and say that this is going to be a staple in Standard, so I won't. What I will say is that everyone and their parents are going to test the crap out of this card, and you can expect it to be pretty expensive out of the gate. Where it goes from there, only time and my crying wallet will tell. Seriously, Wizards, prowess on the tokens, that's overkill. Jeez. The next card we're looking at is Monastery Siege. 3 mana for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, choose Khans or Dragons. If you choose Khans, at the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card, then discard a card. If you choose Dragons, spells your opponents cast that target you or a permanent you control cost 2 more to cast. Alright, once again, these options are outrageously different, so they'll fit into 2 completely different kinds of strategies. The Khans ability, this was meant for Sultai Whip. Not only do you get to filter through your cards faster, but you get to fuel delve every single turn without really needing to do anything. Cards like Treasure Cruise and Murderous Cut become even easier to cast, if that were even possible. The Khans version is meant for Sultai Whip, and honestly that is super dangerous. The Dragons version, on the other hand, bye-bye to all of your Jeskai-based tempo/burn decks. This basically turns them off, or at least stalls them for 9 years. If they can't remove the Siege, their Lightning Strikes are 4 mana, Stoke the Flames 6 mana, they can't handle that. It completely destroys the entire strategy. Monastery Siege is going to make enchantment removal necessary in those decks, especially against blue-based midrange and control decks. I know I'll be testing with this on sideboard in blue-white and blue-black easily. Just saying, while burn decks can do a lot to you before turn 3, once turn 3 does hit, this helps stop the bleeding in a big way. Also, delaying a random Thoughtseize every now and then is hilarious. This must really be Jeskai set. Next up is Shu Yun, the Silent Tempest. 2 colorless and 1 blue for a 3/2 legendary creature, human monk with prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay 2 hybrid red and white mana. If you do, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. First thing I want to say, if you play this in Commander, the color identity is indeed Jeskai. Everything except reminder text counts as color identity, so this is definitely a white, blue, red Commander. With that out of the way, this guy is really cheap for all the stuff he does. Prowess, great. 3/2 for 3? Okay. Being able to give a creature double strike on a stick? amazing. Stick this as a 1 or 2 of in something like Blue-White Heroic. Play an Aqueous form and swing for a crap ton of damage. This has the potential to get out of control stupidly fast. Think about all the cheap cards that could utilize this ability. Titan Strength, Defiant Strike, Ajani's Presence, just to name a few. Lastly, for those of you asking for hexproof, you're so spoiled. Just disgusting. Not every card can be Geist of Saintraft. Get over it. The card's legitimately awesome. Another rough translation for this next card. Torrent Elemental / Torrential Spirit is 5 mana for a 3/5 elemental with flying. Whenever it attacks, tap all creatures defending player controls. You can also pay 3 colorless and 2 hybrid black or green mana to return it from exile to the battlefield tapped. Activate only when you can cast a sorcery. This card is super weird. Besides the obviously hilarious interaction with Whip of Erebos where you play it, it dies, Whip brings it back, it exiles, you bring it back, you get it. Anyways, besides that, I have no idea where this is going to go. The ability is good on paper, but what deck is going to want this, you know? The jury is still out for me, but I'll need to see more of the set to be super confident in this card. This next card is still a rough translation, but I'm confident the gurus have figured it out. Sorcerer of the Hunt is 3 colorless and 1 red for a 4/2 Orc Shaman with haste. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It also has a ferocious ability. You can pay 2 colorless and 2 hybrid blue or green mana to draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 greater. I love this card. Thank you, Teamer Gods. A 4/2 with haste for 4 is alright. Giving your creatures counters whenever they deal combat damage to a player? I'll take it. The last ability is what makes it awesome. Being able to draw cards in a deck that is clearly focusing on creatures? Always a good thing. Plus, it isn't that expensive. Sure, 4 mana can be considered a lot, but when you're playing a deck that floods the board and needs more gas all the time, I'll pay that cost. The card has immediate impact and is relevant into the late game. I'm just really happy with this card, honestly. Animar players should be too. Red-green standard players should be too. You see what I'm getting at. If you don't think this card is good enough, just get out. Go home. I'm disappointed in you, but we'll talk later. We love dragons, and sure enough, we have another dragon to look at today. Silumgar Dragon Usurpers, 4 colorless, 1 blue, and 1 black for a 3/7 legendary creature dragon with flying and hexproof. Whenever a dragon you control attacks creatures defending player controls, each get -1/-1 until end of turn. Okay, wow. First thing, this is a dragon with hexproof. That's legitimately terrifying. Second, it's a 3/7. No one is burning this out anytime soon. Third, it has a Doomwake Giant trigger at the push of a button. Obviously, most of the chatter about this dragon is by Commander players so far. I'm going to leave it to them to figure out how to put this in Scion of the Dragon. For standard, this thing kills Elspeth tokens like a boss, makes Hornet Queen players cry. If you can get it out before dying, Rabblemaster has never been less intimidating, even though by then the game is probably over. As for real playability is concerned, this is either going to fight Pearl Lake Ancient for some control finisher spots, or be hilarious in a new blue-black based dragon deck that is meant to make creature decks cry like little babies. Either way, I'm excited to see what happens with this. Hey, at least he doesn't mill, am I right? Win one for the home team. We had so many mythics today and another dragon. And the mythics were crazy. I'm so burned out, everyone. My emotions can't handle this. I'm not gonna lie. I saw Monastery Mentor this morning and just gave up on life. I have to buy all the Fate Reforged. This is a legitimate nightmare / dream. The best / worst thing ever. First plane problems. Anyways, which cards were your favorites today? We have a lot to choose from. Let me know in the comments how you feel. As always, subscribe below for the latest and most reliable Fate Reforged spoiler information you could ever need. This is the Manosaurus. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.